So in this video, I just want to talk honestly about the reality of running an online business. Obviously, like anything in life, there's some pros, there's some cons. So let's talk about what do you want to do? Cons? We'll do cons first. Okay, so some of the cons, it can be isolating. Like you are basically by yourself behind a computer. Now, I don't work a lot per se. Like I don't have like a regular job where it's like you clock 8 hours every day. That would drive me nuts. But I still have focused work, maybe every every day, basically 3 to 4 hours a day. Some days less, some days a little bit more. But when you're doing that work, you need to come in a certain headspace. So you have to be quite focused, and usually it's like library mode, right? Like quiet, by yourself, no distractions. So that's kind of one of the cons. Maybe we'll alternate. So now we'll do a pro. So for me, the biggest pro is location, independence, or freedom, or to work remote, right? Like I spent the winter in Mexico. I was there for 7 months. Now I'm on my acreage. Out in Canada, it's Shuswap Lake, but like it's very remote. Like the closest big cities, like Kelowna, which is like an hour and a half. So that's just a huge perk, is I could take my work literally anywhere. So that's actually my office there. We'll check it out. This is my shred shack. That's my snowboard camper. But basically, that's where I work out of. I'm running a 6-figure business out of the shred shack. So that is a huge pro. Let's talk about another con. The difficulty of getting started and how long it actually takes. It takes way longer than you think for most people. Whether you're doing something like I'm doing, digital marketing, websites, whether you're doing like more the influencer content route, right? Like maybe you're passionate about like, I don't know, nutrition or something like that, and you're posting content, you're trying to get a following going. It takes way longer than you think it's going to take. And it just feels like you're grinding forever before you actually make any money. So that's kind of a con. It doesn't really happen overnight. And when you see those overnight success stories on YouTube and social media, it's very rare that happened overnight. They probably tried multiple businesses, even like the drop shipping e-commerce guys, before they finally got something to click. And then but when they get something to click, it goes fast, but it's not usually their first kick at the can. So that's just a con, right? You need to have patience. So now for a pro, I would say the amount of money you can make, right? Because once you figure it out, whatever you're offering, it's like you aren't bound to just your local community, right? Or your local city. You can literally do business anywhere in the world. Depending on the type of online business, you could automate certain parts of it so you could reach thousands of people potentially, right? Then you could have high ticket things. If you know what a sales funnel is, right? You can have different offerings within that. So you can make a lot of money, a lot more than I would say traditional jobs once you get established. Because like even like in my last video, I showed like March, I did like 11,200. I did 10,000 this month. Those are some pretty crazy numbers. Like for a job, you're almost at the top level of a profession. That'd be like executive level kind of income. And honestly, all of April, well, not all of April, but a good chunk of April, I was like traveling around Mexico and doing all these things. And I have my dog with me, so we have to go get vet certificates before we travel. And then I got back to the acreage. It's pretty raw out here, right? So I have to set everything up. I have a rental house there. It's tucked away. Not to get too into it, but like my tenant, he's like an ex-convict guy. He drilled a hole in my gas tank. He took my gas. He took my truck battery. So I was like dealing with like life stuff. So hardly focused, but yet I'm still probably, for May, I'll probably still have, well, April was 10 grand, and I bet you May, it's a little slow. I bet you I'll do 8 or 9. So I'm just saying, if you're going to make that type of money in the old world, like you're going to be at work every single day with a lot of stress and a lot of responsibility, right? So That's a huge pro. I'll do another pro is that because, you're strategic, I only do 3-4 hours a day, you can do other things, right? So this is actually a summer business. I rent this out. There's the sign there. I don't even see it on the shed, but it's Let's Go Shoe Swap. So, I'm able to run other businesses because my online stuff doesn't take 8 hours a day. You don't have to drive to the job site or into the office, pack your lunch. By the time you get home, you're tired, you need to relax. So that's a great pro. And then even this whole area, like this used to be all forest and trees. I cleared this out. I built this road. I put in a hot tub, hookups, power. We'll go up to the garden area. But it allows me to take on all these other projects, whether they're personal or whether they're for, business related. And I can do these projects, right? Because I'm not going to a job every day. So that is a huge pro. And then I'll think of one more con. So now this next project's the garden. So I had these 6 boxes, but now I'm building more. So I'm just kind of clearing out more grass and, building out more boxes, just taking apart an old deck. So again, this is just stuff I do, like, take a break. Maybe it's 12, I need a break from the computer, you come out, build a garden box, stuff like that. And then, so then for a con, it's no one in real, you might see online, there's all these people doing this, but in real life, there's not a lot of people who actually work online. So it can be very isolating. No one really, I'm just going to flip the camera. No one really understands what I do. So you can't really talk about your work. Where I used to work construction, I could call my uncle, be like, oh yeah, we just did a big driveway pour today. Or, oh yeah, it's a commercial job. Oh yeah, we're doing the drywall and we're doing this. You can show a picture. People can relate to what you're doing. They tell you about their work, right? So there's like a social component to when you're kind of working the traditional job. Where it's like no one really knows what I do. Maybe my close friends and family, but like most people, they think I'm just don't even work. They think I'm just hanging out here doing nothing, right? So that could be a con at times though, right? Is because again, with the first thing where you're working kind of by yourself, it can be a little isolating, both physically and mentally. But that's kind of why, because you have this great schedule and you have control of your day, you can fill your day with activities, right? Like you can go to the gym during the day. There's like drop-in hockey that I'd play, that's like during the day. So you kind of have more opportunities to socialize in your personal life, but you're just not going to get that socializing in your business life. Obviously, it's not like I'm antisocial or I don't have human contact, right? I'm on the phone with clients multiple times a day. Not every day, but a lot of times it's not unusual for me to, be on the phone 2-3 times, just checking in on projects or calling new leads. But that's what I'd say. But overall, I think there's a lot of upside. I don't necessarily think this lifestyle is for everyone, but I think more people need to just consider it as an option when they're kind of, figuring out what they want to do or thinking of different ways to make money. Not everyone thinks of digital businesses, right? But again, it takes skills. It takes learning. It's not overnight. And it takes a lot of work. But I would say those are just a few pros and cons of, owning a digital business. But all in all, I think it is a better way to live because you have control of your schedule and control of your day. And you're just not in that work dynamic, which is just kind of hard because you got to be there every day. If you're sick or you have kids or something like that, it's kind of like your job is number one. Where this, you can kind of structure your personal day and your routine, whatever works for you. It's probably going to look different than me. And then your work is kind of secondary as long as you're just getting things done. So it does take a lot of personal accountability. But again, you could live in these cool locations, right? And then once I'm just here for the summer, the winter, the clouds come in, it's boring. Then I go to Mexico or I go somewhere else and, it's kind of more social because out here is kind of quiet. So you could just kind of take your work with you, pretty much just have my laptop and a notepad. I do have my camera, depending, sometimes if I'm kind of in the proximity of a client, maybe I'll take some photos for them. But basically, I'm running my business off a laptop. I got about $250 of monthly subscriptions, like Adobe Stock, Sketch, a few other things. And then right now I'm spending around $550 a month on Facebook ads. And I know how to run the ads, right? So I don't have to pay like a marketing agency and their service fee. So I guess you could call that a pro, is there's not a lot of costs to get started, right? Where if you're starting like a restaurant or even a construction company, right? You need to buy a truck, you need to buy a trailer, you need to buy tools. Restaurant, so many costs, so many operating costs, you need staff. So, you know, we could chalk that up to one more pro. So hope that just gives you some insight if you're considering, you know, making money online, or you're just curious about this topic, or, you know, just the reality of what it's like actually running an online business. So we'll talk to you on the next one.